All right, we all know the story, right? The US invades Iraq, lies about weapons of mass destruction, never finds anything. But what if I told you that's not really what happened? What if I told you that the US actually found thousands of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq? Sounds unbelievable, sounds like what nobody thinks, but somehow that might actually be true. So what's going on here? How is this the biggest Mandela effect in modern history? To answer that, we got to look at a couple of things. First of all, we look at pre-war. Before the war, the Bush administration laid out what they expected to find, and they put hard numbers to it, and they said they were going to find about 40,000 chemical weapons, about 600 tons of chemicals that weren't in weapons yet, and maybe some manufacturing facilities and some other stuff like that. Fast forward, after the invasion, what's actually found? Well, they actually found about 5,000 warheads and about 500 tons of chemical weapons. So you can see that the Bush intelligence wasn't exactly right. They overestimated a lot of what they were going to find, but what they did find was still more than enough to kill scary amounts of people. So how do you get from finding less than what expected to finding nothing? Well, because still today, you ask anybody and they'll tell you there were no weapons of mass destruction at all. So how do we get from finding less than expected to finding nothing at all? That has to do with more of the news cycle. So think about a headline. U.S. finds weapons of mass destruction, but not nearly as many as they expected to. And I mean, that's just not a very snazzy headline. Instead, you shorten it down, you might find weapons search still disappointing. That's still not the best headline, but it's a lot more concise. And then as you repeat the story and you tell it again and again, and the disappointment continues, it kind of evolves into we didn't find what we were looking for, which evolves into we didn't find anything. And then 20 years later, after that's been the headline story for a couple of decades, everybody starts to take the shortest version and they're like, oh no, we didn't find anything. Well, in truth, we did find things. It was just a lot less than expected. So that's kind of the short version of the fact that there were in fact weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and now you know.